series. Part of this is because Russell Westbrook has been out. I mean, Jason, have you been impressed by the way that the Thunder have battled back? Do you think that the Rockets can close this out, or is the loss of Westbrook? Do you think that there's a chance that the Thunder actually go from down 0-2 and actually pull out the series?
I have to say that Billy Donovan, I think, is slightly underrated as a head coach. He was great on the collegiate level. You saw what he did at Florida. He got the OKC job, and they shuffled around with Russell Westbrook and Carmelo Anthony and Paul George, and it didn't work. They bring in Chris Paul, and the Thunder were afterthoughts. Not only were they firmly planted in the Western Conference playoff picture, because if you envisioned this scenario a year ago, you would have said they would have been with the Pelicans and the Suns and the Kings and the Grizzlies and Portland competing for the playing game. But no, they had a firmly entrenched playoff spot, and they looked the part. However, I think it's partially the Rockets not having Westbrook and partially not having Westbrook and I love losing my train of thought. What was I going to say?
We're keeping this in, by the way.
What?
I said we're keeping this in, by the way.
Oh, 100%. No, this is an edit-free program unless one of us swears. But I think they're starting to figure out the Rockets, which just leads me to prove my point further about D'Antoni as a coach. Houston can be figured out. See, with the way Steven Adams plays down low, OKC has that luxury to switch and play different dimensions, run the offense through him. He's a decent passer. The Rockets are one-dimensional. They go small 90% of the game. They don't have a true big on their roster that plays significant minutes. So, it's kind of a boomer-bust mentality, and without the second leg of that boomer-bust mentality, it doesn't work. So you have to hope Westbrook gets healthy instead of just jawing against his former teammate Steven Adams on the sideline during timeouts and stuff. Get healthy, get right, because your team may need you to get out of the first round. Look, if D'Antoni loses his job, I don't think he'll ever be a head coach in the NBA again. So this is a very high-pressure series that I did not think would be this close.
I think Mike D'Antoni will get another job. I'm not too worried about his future in the league. But I will say this. The two games the Thunder have won, they won one in overtime when the Rockets missed a free throw that would have won the game in regulation. And then in Game 4, the Rockets were leading going into the fourth quarter. The Thunder rallied back. They end up winning by 3 points. They've won these games very close. I still think the Rockets are better, and that's without Russell Westbrook. So if Westbrook comes back, I think it's going to be a wrap. I think they're going to go in. And I actually think, I'm going to say it now, I think that the Rockets are a really, really tough matchup for the Lakers. That's a team who I do think could give the Lakers some trouble. I think it's going to be really hard for them to play their centers. So I think that's going to be great. And speaking of, the reason why we're talking about the Lakers, Jason, it's not over, but it's over. Game 5, Damian Lillard not going to play. They're already missing Zach Collins. They're already missing Rodney Hood. The list goes on here. They're just down so many guys. Trevor Ariza couldn't play. And the Lakers are just showing they're a better team. It's just that's what it is. The Lakers are flat out better. I don't even know how much more there is to say. It's been incredible to watch this Blazers team, Jason. But, they just don't have enough. They're running out of gas, and the Lakers are just flat out better. They have two of the top 5 or 10 players in the league. Anthony Davis and LeBron James have just said, enough, we're done with this. They blew them out in Game 4. Without Lillard in Game 5, I just don't give them a chance. What do you think?
Well, I thought we were going to start the West with Luka, but you were just making it easier to end with Luka, and everyone that listens will call us crazy. But yeah, I guess this is a good time for me to eat my words because I boldly predicted, and the emphasis on the word bold. But Portland was going to win this series. I really thought, with the way they came in and battled and got the 8th seed and the way they won Game 1, the writing was on the wall. And then something just clicked in that Laker locker room. I think they heard all the criticism on baseline jumper, J.R. Smith, Deion Waiters, JaVale McGee not having any of it, and LeBron just turning back the clock. I do think Anthony Davis's bulky back does bear some watching, and hopefully he's able to just keep playing at a high level and keeping it going. Maybe the Defensive Player of the Year snub might light a fire under him. But yeah, the Lakers, after looking sluggish in the seeding games, are really just firing on. And here's one of those things, man, as a podcast host, I was dead wrong about Portland. I really thought they were going to win this in 7. And Now, given Damian Lillard's got a sprained knee, he's out for Game 5. I mean, there's no way they win Wednesday, let alone 3 in a row to shock the entire league. And,
Yeah.
I'll admit when I'm wrong when it's time, and I was wrong about this Portland team. I underestimated the Lakers and LeBron. I just wanted to apologize because, we had said when Kobe passed, and I know that the league and his family and friends celebrated what would have been his 42nd birthday earlier this week. Rest in peace, Mamba. But we said anything less than a Lakers championship in the wake of Kobe's tragic passing would just be so disappointing. And I think people are rooting for the Lakers, before the stoppage. And I think picks up right where it left off.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing here, they've been a dominant defense. The whole time they've been in the bubble, they've been great defensively. It starts with Anthony Davis. LeBron James has been great. Alex Caruso has been great. Here's a shocking one. Kyle Kuzma has been solid on the defensive end. And when you combine that with some of the other guys they excise some of the guys who were not so great on defense. I mean, Rajon Rondo is a minus on that end at this point in his career. So that's helped them. It's hurt them maybe on offense a little bit, but he's just not the guy he was. They played more Dwight Howard, less JaVale McGee. That's helped. So I think that's going to be great, and I'm really excited if they play Houston. I think that will be a capital G great series. I am going to save Luka for last, Jason, because we have a lot to talk about there. I want to talk about, to me, the most interesting series, actually, of all of them. This is the one that I have so many takes, so many thoughts. I've been watching these games, as I mentioned, since game 1, and I've been just fascinated by this series. I just there's so much going on, Jason. So I have some questions. First of all, I mean, I think one of the things here is I have sort of felt like I'm asking myself the question as I watch these games whether Nikola Jokic is overrated, because when you look at him, it's really hard to build a defense around Jokic. And it's a really fascinating question to me, not just for the Nuggets, but for other teams around the league and the archetype of a player like Jokic, where if your backline defender is just not very good, how does that affect the rest of your defense? And we see the exact mirror image of that with the Utah Jazz, who really don't have many phenomenal defenders out there, but their backline defender in Rudy Gobert is elite. You know what? I love Giannis. He's phenomenal. I think the best defensive player in the league is still Rudy Gobert. I'm just going to say it. He's that good. He has been absolutely spectacular in this series. He's been great against the Nuggets on both ends. And it made me wonder if he's underrated versus Jokic being a little bit overrated, primarily because of the position they play and the way that they function within an offense. I mean, what do you make of that, Jason? And have we been giving maybe Jokic a little too much credit at the expense of someone like Gobert?
No, they play two entirely different games. I think that Gobert is a bit limited offensively, where obviously he's the superior defender, but Jokic is just more of a do-it-all type. And I think he's right up there with the upper echelon of superstars in this league. He just plays in a smaller market. No one pays much attention to Denver. They've got a great team. They've uncovered some gems with Bol Bol and Michael Porter Jr., both taken late in the draft or later than they should have gone. And, hey, I mean, they're showing with their Game 5 win on Tuesday night that just wrapped up that they're in it to fight. And, the Jazz don't have this in the bag. I think this series could very well go 7. And you know what? I did say Nuggets in 6. Obviously, that can't happen anymore. But I think they're still going to win this series, Ben. I don't think Jokic is overrated at all. I think that's a yoker. It's a bad yoker.
You know what? I don't think you could build your team around him. I mean, just watching this series, they are just going at him. And we have to talk about Donovan Mitchell, Jason, because Donovan Mitchell, I said at the end of last season, beginning of this season, when we were talking about the Bojan Bogdanovic signing, my reaction was, I just don't know if it moves the needle that much for me, because ultimately, and you could go back, check the receipts, as the kids say, but Jason, I said to you, this team and their success will depend on Donovan Mitchell's ability to become a superstar. coming into tonight, we're recording this on Tuesday. Into Tuesday's game, Donovan Mitchell was averaging about 40 points a game, Jason. Now he only scored a paltry 30 points with 5 assists in game 5, but he has been a man possessed. He's been absolutely amazing, and he has shown just that he can lead this team both in crunch time and elsewhere. And I think that's a great sign for this Jazz team. And I think it's a great sign for his career. He is just automatic coming off the pick and roll, mid range from three. He is as Chris Webber said on the broadcast from Sunday night's game. He said he's just a bad man, and it's the truth. Donovan Mitchell, unbelievable. Although his counterpart, Jason, I mean, what about Jamal Murray, who comes out and duels him? I mean, admittedly, his 50th point was on a garbage time 3 as the clock was expiring, but he just came back. Game 5, scores 40 points, Jason. I mean, he has been incredible in this series as well. He's a guy who, in this series against the Jazz, scored 36 points, 50 points, and 42 points in 3 of the games. I mean, what about Jamal Murray? And do you think that maybe you're saying you think the Nuggets have a chance? Do you think he has a chance to lead this team back with offensive showings like that one?
Yeah, especially with Gary Harris out. They're kind of fighting an uphill battle. The Jazz were without Bogdanovich, as we discussed, and Mike Conley for a limited time, who left the restart to attend the birth of his son. And he's back, and, he's ready to play because he's at the end of his career. His best friend, Marc Gasol, went and got himself a championship ring last year. And now Conley, who might be the best point guard ever to never be named to an all-star team, I mean, he's got the chip on his shoulder. When you pair him with Donovan Mitchell, who is him and Jason Tatum, I mean, those two are morphing into superstars before our very eyes. And just the complement of Rudy Gobert and, the veteran presence of Joe Ingles and Jordan Clarkson. I mean, they have a very good team. And they showed by winning 3 straight games, 2, 3, and 4, that they're for real. They're to be taken seriously. I just think that they had their chance to close it out. And now I think Denver's got a bit of a momentum shift on their hands going into Game 6.
Okay, well, the people have waited long enough. It's Hallelujah time, Jason. Why don't you wax poetic about Luka Legend, the Slovenian point god, the man who hit a crazy step-back 3 to win Game 4 for the Mavericks. I mean, I'll just cede the floor to you.
Wow. Mr. Luka Doncic, who you've been talking about now for 2 years on this platform, and you're giving me the floor? I was busy handing out milk cartons with Paul George's picture on it. But you want me to talk about Luka? Oh, my goodness. I mean, what this kid is doing at 21 years old, taking the league by storm, with a banged-up ankle, no Kristaps Porzingis, and playing against the team that I chose to win the whole thing. I mean, they are putting the Clippers on skates with the way they performed. I mean, there was talk of the controversial ejection last week, and could they have stolen Game 1? I mean, this could very well be 3-1 Dallas, and I think what happens tonight, we can't delve too much into it because there will be a result by the time this podcast does run for your listening pleasure on Wednesday. I mean, this is a must win for the Clippers. And what more can you say about Luka? I mean, does he have a good supporting class? Sure. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr.'s look really good. Seth Curry, Finney Smith. They have some pieces. But with Porzingis hurt and really not playing too much and kind of looking a little weak, Doncic, not 100%, triple-doubles, insane stat lines, and wins. I mean, this kid does it all. It's insane.
He's just incredible, and he put the team on his back in Game 4. I don't think it's going to be enough. Porzingis has already been ruled out, and it's sad because seeing those two together, they are lethal in the pick and roll. Porzingis is just pulling up from freaking Miami over here for some of these shots, Jason. I mean, it's unbelievable. His range and the way that impacts the defense has been amazing to watch. But you said it. The other part of this series is Paul George has been absolutely I don't even know what word to use. He looks washed, Jason. I mean, the guy is blowing layups, wide open threes. In Game 4, Yes, absolutely, Luka was phenomenal, but there were multiple points in the game where Paul George had